live. All right, awesome. So I've got someone say, yeah, Justin, thanks for that. You can hear me. Awesome. All right, guys, if you're watching this in replay, I always get you guys to do this. Just leave a number 2 in the comments section. If you're watching this live, leave comments, give me a heart, everything. This is just to give it some engagement, let everyone else see this content as well. It sort of hits the Facebook little, it tickles Facebook a little bit and produces it to everyone else rather than just keeping it to a selected few. Yeah, so make sure you leave some engagement. It's also good for me to get that feedback, knowing you guys are jumping on board with this. So today I'm streaming to a couple of different places. So I'm on YouTube. I'm in the Defense Force Fitness Forum, and I'm in my Battle Ready group as well. So welcome everyone to this Ask the Coach. So I do these very regularly. For my clients, I do them every single week. But for the Defense Force Fitness Forum and YouTube and everything, I'll jump on here at least once a month, just to answer any sort of questions or just go over some training talk, really, which I'm going to be doing today. So yeah, it just gives you that opportunity to learn a little bit more about topics that you normally wouldn't be learning about. So yeah, that's about it. Like I said, leave some comments. If you've got any questions along the way, just make sure you pop them in the comments there so that, yeah, I can answer them live right now. Or later down the track, I'll be able to answer them. Like, I'll just leave a comment there for you. Okay, so yeah, I did chuck up a few question posts, like trying to pry out some questions from you guys, but I didn't get too much this week. So I'm just going to be doing a little bit of a training talk. I do have a couple of questions I'm going to be quickly going over for one of my clients, Earl. He's just asking a couple of questions, so I'm going to quickly go over them, and then we'll go into some training talk that I've just thought of a couple of subjects that you guys might be really interested in. So I'll give you a little bit more in-depth knowledge about that and how to train for certain things. So yeah, what I am going to go over with today's live. So like I said, I'm just going to answer some quick questions for Earl first in regards to him. They're just going to be really quickly answered for him. So, and then what I'm going to go over with the training talk. So number 1, I'm going to be speaking about how to train, how beginners should be training for your beat test. All right. That's probably much different to what you actually think. But yeah, how beginners should sort of structure out their training right at the start, just to get off the couch, getting out training. So it's for someone that's, under level 5 on the beat test, just struggling to build that beat test up. Yeah, what you should be aiming for with your training initially, and then you build into other stuff. And then the second thing I'm going to talk about is the 2.4 kilometer run. So speed/pace training for that. So assuming you've already got a decent aerobic base, you've already built on, you've already been out running, you're doing stuff. And if you are trying to build your 2.4, you're most likely in the defense, or, you're already serving in some way. So you're trying to build up that BFA, PFT, whatever you're trying to build it for. So yeah, ways that you can improve your speed and pace, specific to the 2.4, and trying to build up that, how quick you actually run it, because it's a little bit different to what I'm going to be explaining for the beginners with their beat test as well. All right, let's just quickly rattle off these questions and answers for Earl. So Earl, mate, yeah, what do we do if we're short on time and we could only do, let's say, so give you a bit of context with this question. So what Earl is doing is what I've programmed for him is a fair few just low intensity 60-minute sessions. So what he's asking, if he can only do 30 minutes of that session, is it good to catch up later in the day, or maybe catch up the next day with that session, or should he just leave it as the 30 minutes? Simple answer is, yeah, catch it up. If you can do 30 minutes at the end of the day, perfect. If you need to break up that 60 minutes and do 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at brunch, 10 minutes at lunch, whatever, get 60 minutes over the entire day is 10 times better than just getting 30 minutes in one single block. Obviously, you want to try to do it in a single block, because it has a better effect that way when you're doing that low intensity stuff. But yeah, 100%, if you can catch up with it, catch it up. All depending on what you got on the next day. But with that low intensity stuff, it's not really going to affect your training that much. Say if you do that low intensity for 60 minutes, have at least a couple of hours before you go off and do some strength work. Okay, so that's a real simple one. Second question, can you tell me what we can expect at Kapuka? Can you tell us what we can expect at Kapuka? I guess more in relation to the workouts of PTs that happen there. Okay, real simple one with this too. So if you jump into my YouTube, I've got career chats in there. It's a playlist, so have a look at that. And in there, we chat about PT and everything to expect. So it'd be a lot different now compared to when I went through. PT has changed a lot since then. And when I very first joined, I joined as reserve, and I was a reserve for a year and then transferred across to full-time. So even then, between reserves and full-time guys, vastly different as well. That's because you don't have anywhere near as much time as reserve. So you're doing very little PT, but it's very similar to what you're doing already with my training. You'll be going out, you'll do some runs sometimes, you'll do things called battle PT when you're in all your kit and you're going out and doing some, getting on your guards, back up, your fire and movement type stuff. You'll also, as Army, you will be expected to at least do a BFA. You're not expected to pass it by the time you finish Kapuka, but it's a good thing to be able to pass before you finish Kapuka. And also you'll do a PESA, so an all-core PESA. You will also do that there. So not the higher levels, so not the combat ones, but the all-core one. So that's just a bit of a background. You'll do some pack marching and stuff like that as well. But a lot of walking, shit tons of walking, formed up in bodies and following everyone, holding hands, walking down the road. All right, and his final question, can you please advise how weight training and workout? So with this one, Earl, when we're on our next check-in call, I'll dive into that one for you because it's really specific to you, and I'll go in and explain all that stuff. But just to give you an idea of how I program for people that are trying to get ready for the Defence Force. Number one thing, there's no use going from not even being able to pass a PFA to doing some combat conditioning style stuff. What I do is I build people up. We go PFA, get not just past the PFA, we can really comfortably, get a good result with the PFA, being your push-ups, sit-ups, and beat test. Then we move on to something more specific to your role. Like if you're going Army, then we'll try to improve your fitness so that you can pass the BFA really easily. And that's your annual, 6 monthly test. And that's a higher level of push-ups, sit-ups, and you're doing a 2.4 kilometer run. Then we'll move on to things like PESA training, and that's more combat conditioning. And if you're going special forces, we'll do SFET stuff as well. Okay, so that just gives you an idea of the progression. But in regards to specific stuff, we'll jump on a call and have a chat about it. All right, guys, just give me a thumbs up if you're watching and everything's still coming through all right, because I sometimes get notifications saying it's the connection's bad, but hopefully it's all still coming across all right. So just give me a thumbs up, give me a heart, whatever it is. Leave a comment. Just let me know everything's still coming through, because I'd hate to be doing this and you guys aren't actually getting it. All right, so let's get into the good stuff here. Okay, training talk number one. So beginner training for the beat test. So I'm just going to go over what you should be aiming for with your training and how to go about it as well, and give you some recommendations, a duration of workouts, how frequent you should be doing them through the week for best results. Now, the biggest thing with training that you need to realize is consistency, okay? That's the number one thing. If you're not training consistent at least 3 times a week, you're gonna limit yourself a lot with training. You're just going to be with your fitness. You're just going to be spinning your wheels. You need to be training consistently. Not only is it going to improve your fitness, but it creates a really good habit and that mindset of getting stuff done. All right. And it sets you up in a routine through the week. It's just got so many flow-on effects, but consistent training. Don't give me the shit that you haven't got time to train and all this crap, because I've trained and myself have been super busy. And you can still get in training, okay? You can manipulate things so that you can get things in a quicker time. You may not get the same effects, but you can train, okay? Don't give me the shit that you haven't got enough time to train, because I think that's bullshit. It comes down to you with your time management, with your priorities. And if you're trying to join the Defence Forces as a part of your career, If you're already in as well, this is your career. If you're out and you're a veteran, now it's a part of health and fitness, just general health and longevity. So you need to make it a priority, no matter what stage of that you're up to. Okay, it always should be a priority in your life. Now, for beginners that are training for the beep test, like I said, number one is consistent. You need to be training consistently every week. But the number one thing that you should be aiming for with your training is something called your aerobic base. Okay, what your aerobic base is, it's your body's ability to uptake and deliver oxygen to the working muscles and utilize fat as a primary energy source. The better you get at using fat as the energy source, the longer you're going to last, because fat produces a lot more energy with smaller amounts. And if you get really good at using your fat as energy, you are going to last longer before you start to get into those higher intensities and start to burn the sugar and get lactate buildup and all that sort of stuff. So you're going to fatigue later if you get really good at this aerobic based training. And even at higher levels of training, there's a can't remember the name of it, but there's the 80-20 rule where you're training 80% at that lower intensity, and then 20% of your training is at higher intensity pace type, like speed type training. Okay, so it is really important no matter what level of fitness you're at. But if you are just a beginner and you can't even get to level 5, even the 7.5, that tells me straight away you have got a hopeless aerobic base, and that's something that you really need to train. Okay, and another thing that starts to come along with it as well is specific muscle endurance. So if you want to improve your running, then you need to incorporate some running as well, so that those muscles start to learn to fire that way and get more efficient, and your running economy gets better and you're using less energy to be doing your running. Okay, so the best way to do aerobic based training is by using zones or heart rate. You can get around it without using heart rate, but it's a very, very useful tool, and it gives you something to focus on during these longer style training sessions. And that way, you're not just sitting there, you haven't really got much going on in your mind. At least if you've got heart rates and zones and stuff to aim for, it just makes it that little bit more interesting, and it actually makes it really specific to you and your fitness ability. So what you want to be aiming for with your aerobic base training, you want to be doing your training in something in a zone called, like if you're using Garmin's, it's a zone 2 level training. So in that zone, you're going to be predominantly using fat as your energy source and training that ability for you to uptake and deliver oxygen. Okay. So with the zone 2, there's another way to work it out as well. So there's a equation called the MAF 180. I think it's maximal aerobic function, something like that, but it's MAF 180 method. So it's 180 minus your age. So normally you hear all the time the max heart rate is 220 minus your age. This can be very out, but for me that's pretty accurate. So 180 minus your age is usually your max heart rate. But if you're wanting to work in that aerobic zone, in that fat utilization, that zone 2 sort of area, an easy equation to use is the MAF 180, which is 180 minus your age. And what that gives you is your maximum heart rate that you want to be working at for that session. Okay. And with these sessions, they are longer in duration. So it's going to feel really easy. But with that 180 minus your age, that is your maximum. So you want to be working as close to that as possible. Now, if you're going, like whether you're using the zone 2 method or the MAF 180 method, if you're going above that, like you get no brownie points for going above that. It's actually going to change the energy system that you're using for that workout. And no longer is it predominantly using that fat utilization and training that lower end aerobic base. It's now switching to sugar, and it's just a completely different way of producing energy. So when you're doing it, keep that in mind. Don't go above it. But even though it's feeling easy, there's no point in going above it. And especially when you don't have a really good aerobic base, it's not going to take much to get your heart rate up to that. Okay. If you don't have a heart rate monitor, an easy way to tell is you're able to speak not just in sentences, you're able, like I am right now, I'm able to speak in paragraphs without much problem. If you're starting to sort of get through a sentence and you need to take a couple more breaths and whatnot, that's when you're training a little bit too high. Okay. And other ways to tell is you can predominantly breathe in and out of your nose. You may have to do some mouth breathing at some point, maybe through your nose, out your mouth, whatever. But you can do a fair bit of nasal breathing along the way as well. So that's just an easy way to gauge if you haven't got that you haven't got that heart rate monitor to give you that actual figure that you're working in. All right, guys, as I'm going along, if you guys have got any questions, just make sure you pop them up there so that, I can answer them as I go as well. Okay, so that's the zone that you should be training in, like the intensity that you should be training with, so that you are hitting that aerobic base type training. Okay, because a lot of people that I see, that I speak to, it's like, I need to get better at the beep test. So they go out and do the beep test 3-4 times a week, but you're not building that aerobic base. If you can't make level 5 on the beep test, even if you're repeating it like 2-3 times, each level lasts about 1 minute on the beep test. So 5 minutes is your maximum. All right. Aerobic base training, you need to be doing long duration and holding that heart rate at that specific area that I was talking about before for that entire duration. Not a 5 minute sort of max effort and then you're resting for a bit and then maybe you might get 15 minutes worth of work in if you do it 3 times. If you're doing that 3-4 times a week, it's not what you want to be doing and you won't even be getting that much out of it. So when you are going for these workouts, so instead of going out and doing your beep test and getting stuff all out of that, go out, hit this intensity, and for the workout, you want to be working for around about 60 to 90 minutes. You'll probably start, like if you've never done this sort of stuff before, start with 40 minutes. Start with something nice and easy and just build up that time as you go. So, and like optimally, you want to be working between that 60 and 90 minutes. And you want to have, so that's of work. So if you're changing machines and whatnot, that's, work time with your heart rate elevated at that intensity that I was talking about before. So 60 to 90 minutes worth of work. And to get that work, you can do it in any way. You can be on a rower, you can change to an elliptical, you can change to a ski erg, you can go on the assault bike, even though you'll probably spike your heart rate a little bit too much for that one. You can go on the bike, any way possible to hold your heart rate up in that correct intensity for that 60 to 90 minutes. And you can change in between to make it a little bit interesting for yourself. Try to stay on each one for around about 20 minutes. So it's at least elevated, if not a little bit more. Now, what you want to do as well, because we are trying to train that run aspect as well, is at least like, and the reason why I don't say go out and do, I just clicked the button. Hopefully that didn't bust anything. The reason I don't say go out and, run for like 60 minutes or whatever is because you can't bloody do that right now. And if you're running and walking, you're most probably not going to be getting that sort of stimulus. I can work it ways, and I do with my program. So if you're watching this and you're like, I'm not doing this, there's ways I've worked this in. Because you can't run for anywhere near as long as what you need to be to building that aerobic base, you need to be doing other stuff to tack onto that. So maybe at the start of your session, if you're only just starting out, maybe do, 3 sets of, or like 5 sets of 2 minute running with a little bit of walk in between. Okay, get used to that running, get that little bit of muscular endurance, and still try to work within that zone as well. And then once you've done that, go off and finish off however long you've got of that 69 minutes using a bike, or whatever else that you can, just to get that consistent work in there. Okay. So really good and that's why it's really good to have access to a gym or some sort of a cardio equipment that you at home. Now, if you haven't got access to a gym or cardio equipment, you can do walks as well. Like you can do like a walk run just to hold your heart rate will go up and then you'll see it going a little bit too high. So you'll drop it. So you'll go to a walk, let it drop back down. And then it's sort of a run walk over an extended period. But you don't really want to be doing too much of that, especially if you're not well trained with running, because you'll end up with problems with shins and all sorts of stuff like that, just overloading it too much too quick. Other things you can do for that aerobic base training, walking, and that's what I see a lot is people going out and doing walks, which is great. It's awesome for weight loss and stuff like that. But when you're trying to train your aerobic system, it's not getting your heart rate up high enough. So if you're going to go out and do walks, it'll have to be like some sort of weighted walk up hills or something like that. And that's why it's really handy with that heart rate monitor, so that you actually know whether you're hitting that correct zone, so that you're getting that aerobic development out of it. All right. So just to recap a little bit with this, we're training aerobic base training. So meaning you're in that zone 2, or if you're using the other method, that 180 minus your age, that's your max heart rate, work within around about 10 beats of that. Okay, so low intensity zone 2, and we're working for 60 to 90 minutes, however possible, keeping your heart rate up in that zone for however long that you can with different equipment, and trying to chuck in some sort of run training with that. Now, the frequency, the amount of times you want to be doing this per week, minimum 3. So 3 to 4 optimally, especially as a beginner. 3 to 4 just to get that aerobic system going, and getting the development out of it. So 3 to 4 low intensity 60, 90 minute sessions through the week will get you get you a lot more benefit than going out and doing the freaking beep test for 5 minutes and wondering why you're not improving it. Okay, so that's what I try to explain to people. The beep test is a test. Okay, you need to train different elements to improve that test, and this aerobic base is the very first thing that you need to build on, because the majority of you out there is probably have got a shit one, and it needs to improve. All right, so you need to dial back that intensity, extend out those workouts, and get that heart rate up to that level for extended periods, 3 to 4 times a week. That's it. All right, start with that. That's your number one thing to be doing over the next month to 2 months. I'm telling you, you'll get some awesome benefits from it. And if you're looking to lose weight, really good way to lose weight as well. All right, now I'm going to have a drink. Yeah, guys, if you got any questions, chuck them in there. Still got a couple of people on here, which is good to see. All right, next one. So our next one is for more of the intermediate to advanced guys. And we're talking about speed and pace training for the 2.4 kilometer run. So this one, I'm assuming you've already got a decent aerobic base. But like I said before, doesn't matter what level of fitness you're at, use that 80-20 rule. 80% that aerobic zone 2, math 180, however you want to work it out, that style training, that low intensity aerobic training, aerobic base training. And then the 20% is what I'm going to be talking about here to build up. So when you're doing speed and pace training for like the 2.4 or beep test or whatever you're training for, it has many, many different effects on you. So, and adaptations. So yes, you're going to improve your VO2 max. You're going to improve your, let's say your threshold level, your anaerobic threshold. But you're going to improve your running efficiency as well. You're going to improve your body's ability to produce that energy quicker, and that's in regards to VO2 max, but also specific to what you are actually training. So you want to be doing run training for this, because it needs to be specific to actually what you are doing, because muscles work differently, doing different sports and different things. So if you're trying to improve your pace for running, you need to be doing speed/pace training for your running. Okay, so other things that it actually improves as well is sometimes the limiting factor isn't actually your energy systems. It's you. You're just your ability to be able to push yourself, that pain threshold, that ability to just to grind away and keep going when it actually hurts. That's a lot of mental resilience and endurance in there to be able to be hurting and still be able to go out to the next one as hard as you did the one before.
Okay. And that comes through hard training. And it also improves your ability to recover in between in between working sets as well. So lots and lots of benefits to this style of training that I'm just about to explain to you. So with this, so we're going to start off, we're going to break it into intervals. We're going to be doing interval style training. Okay. And the objective of it is to sustain your pace across all. So we're not after just a one really good one. So say we're doing 400-meter intervals. We're not after that awesome first one where you're bloody sub 1 minute, 400-meter. And then by the 10th one, you're barely even getting it under 2 minutes. You want it like within a 5 to like, you pretty much want them spot on, like a 5 to 10 second difference between your worst and your best across all intervals. And if anything, your last one's getting better and, you know, being as good as your first one. And that takes a lot of control as well. So another thing that we're training with this type of training. Okay, so what we need to do. So we're going to start with 400-meter intervals. And we're going to do 10 sets with a 1 minute rest. But after the 5th set, I want you to have a full rest. So they're partial rests in between the normal sets. But after the 5th set, so halfway, I want you to have a 3 to 5 minute full rest. So you're fully recovered. The reason for this is because we want to be hitting a pace and sustaining it throughout. So I want you to be able to produce as much energy in your last one as you were able to for your first one. And that takes control as well. So you do 5 sets of 400 meters run with a 1 minute rest. And then you do a 3 to 5 minute rest and you repeat that. Okay. Hopefully I said all that right. Sometimes I mix up all the rests and stuff. Right, with the goal to sustain that pace across all. Now, with the pace, it needs to be hard, but achievable to start with as well. So we can work out a goal pace for you. So if you've got a goal pace, and obviously when you're looking at goal paces for your 2.4 kilometer run, be like, make it achievable for yourself. Don't just put some ridiculous knocking like 15 seconds off your 2.4 kilometer time. If it's already a max effort 2.4 for you, that's a big difference. Like that's a big improvement. Okay. So be reasonable with your goals, and you don't want to set them too high because otherwise you just won't, like, this won't work for you. So for your 400-meter intervals, we need a set pace. So you've got a target that you're trying to achieve every single time rather than just going out and just doing whatever. So to find a goal pace for yourself, figure out a goal 2.4 kilometer pace. So what you want to run that 2.4 kilometer run in, divide it by 6. So in seconds, and then divide it by 6. So that's the pace. That's your goal pace. All right. But we want a bit of a fatigue factor in there as well. So just knock, 5 to 10 seconds off that. And that is your goal that you want to achieve by the end of this. Now, when you've got that pace, we always want to start things a little bit easier so that when we do them week by week, we've got that room to progress, and it gives that body the ability to just progress each week. If you start too high, like if you're already aiming for that goal pace when you know you can't achieve that, if you're already aiming for that to start with, you're going to have no room to move. So the body's just not going to be able to adapt. What you want to do is just knock a little bit of time off it so it's achievable. You know you can reach it throughout all those 10 intervals. And each week we'll try to improve it maybe by 3 to 5 seconds each interval. All right. So you want to be, so you got your goal pace, knock some time. Well, that's with that 10 to 15 second fatigue factor. And then we knock that down a little bit so that we got that starting pace. Now you've got those paces that you should be hitting every single interval throughout the entire time. If you feel good, like especially the first time you do it, if you feel good for that 7th, 8th, 9th rep, go harder. Go try to improve those times that little bit more. And then when you look at your results, you'll be able to see, okay, I can definitely bump that up because those last few intervals, I was just smashing it. So I've got that room to improve. Whereas if you're really struggling at the end, then obviously you haven't got that much room to improve. Okay, so start nice and easy and then repeat it just every week. And I'm not giving you a set time frame. Usually 3 to 6 weeks is, your body's like limit to adaptation, and then it'll just go hit a plateau. So what you want to do is start nice and easy, and each week just try to improve those times, sustaining your pace across all intervals. The next week, just try to improve it that little bit more, improve it a little bit more. Just keep going for those 400-meter intervals until you run into a wall, until you're like, all right, I can't improve that anymore. Though I reckon those intervals, like that is pretty much my max that I'm going to get right now with that. And you'll feel it. You'll feel you can't go. And you might even see maybe one day your results go back down a little bit. So that's your limit. Now you need to change it up. So now we're going to move to 1 kilometer intervals using exactly the same method. With these though, have a 2-minute rest because the work period's a little bit longer. So you're doing 1 kilometer intervals with a 2-minute rest, and halfway through the full workout, you want to have about a 3 to 5 minute rest as a full rest, so you can sustain that pace. Do it for around 3 to 4 sets. So we're overloading a little bit more now. We're trying to do more work than we're doing in the 2.4 kilometer run, and like the same as what we're doing with the 400 meter interval. So we're not just going for 2.4, we're going for more volume. So yeah, 3 to 4 sets. And again, we want to sustain that pace. Now to work out your goal pace, that 2.4 kilometer goal that you want to hit, divide that by, like in seconds, divide it by 2.4. And then you've got that goal pace. Again, a little bit of fatigue factor in there, 10 to 15 seconds fatigue factor. That's your goal that you want to be running for your 1 kilometers. Knock it down a little bit, okay? Even if you're running slower than what you were for the 400 meter intervals, now we're doing bigger sets. So that's fine. Just knock it down and run that little bit slower. And then let's hit it every week. Start with that easy one. Again, if you can, in the last 1 or 2 sets, if you can pump it out faster, go faster. And then you'll know for the next week, I can definitely bump it up. Okay. Each week, bump it up, 3 to 5 seconds per kilometer. Bump it up, bump it up, bump it up until you hit a wall. All right. Now you've hit your wall. Again, you might have seen a bit of a decline with your results one day. Just be sure that that's not just a fatigue thing from the day. But once you've hit a wall, you can't progress with that workout anymore. We need to change it up again. Okay. So what we can do now is go away from repeats. So now we've built up that volume of being able to constantly repeat a fast pace and trying to get towards that goal pace that we were aiming for. And we're able to repeat it over and over again. Now we're just going for full aerobic power, the body's ability just to produce that energy as quick as possible and use it in those muscles. So what we want to do now is just 1 kilometer max efforts. We're not worrying about sustaining pace or anything like that. I want 1 kilometer max efforts. Okay. One to two of them, 2 maximum. I'm telling you, if you do a 1 kilometer max effort, you'll be fucked. So you want to do like 2 maximum, and that is it. And you just want to max effort each week. Try to, again, we're just progressing each week. Try to improve just by a couple of seconds each week. Even if it's 1 second, you've improved. All right, next week, we're going to try for 1 more second until you hit a wall. Once you hit that wall, deload, have a bit of a rest week, have the week off, whatever you want to do. Week after, test the 2.4. I'm telling you, your time would have went through the roof, okay? Don't do the 2.4 at any point throughout your training. We're training, again, same as the big test. We're training for it for the actual test. Don't worry about the actual distance. It's getting covered with the actual training, okay? And I'm telling you, your results will go. I've used this exact thing on myself, and I've seen my times go through the roof from that. But it needs, each one of those stages has got a purpose. So the 400s is just working on that, like you're able to hit that pace a little bit easier because they're those shorter intervals. Then when you're going to the 1 kilometer repeats, it's that ability to sustain that pace for a longer period at once, okay? And then once we've got that ability to repeat that fast pace, then it's just a matter of power to the ground. We're still working with that 1 kilometer because we're still in the aerobic power sort of domain rather than going too short and not even training our aerobic system. So yeah, we go max effort with that, and that just gives you that power that you need. You'll start off with that 2.4, and you got to make sure you don't go too quick. Make sure you control that pace, because yeah, it's real easy after doing those 1 kilometer power intervals to go out and then by halfway you just say, fuck. Alrighty, guys. How long have I been going for? 36 minutes. Awesome. All right, let's have a look. See if we got any questions with this. Okay, so yeah, we got from Mark here. Makes sense. Was wondering why I wasn't seeing vast improvements with my distance running. Now I understand. Beautiful. Awesome. Good to know. Let's see if I got any in. What I mean here, the fitness forum. Okay, we got one here. Don, the 60 to 90 minute workout was while keeping your heart rate as close to 180 beats per minute for age. For example, if you're 30, you'd want to keep heart rate at 150. Yeah, exactly. So, so it's 180. No, yeah, 180 minus age. So it's just 180 beats per minute minus your age, and that's your maximum heart rate. That's your maximum aerobic heart rate you want to be working with. There are differences, and you just work off feel sort of thing, but that's just a really good figure to aim for. And if you're around about there, you'll be getting the benefits from it. And keep it as close to it as possible. And like I said, going above it, you don't get the same sort of benefits. So that, there's no use, thinking, oh, I need to smash this session out and go on hard as I can. You won't get the same benefits out of it. All right, guys. If you're watching this on YouTube, I haven't got that up, so I can't really see. Oh, actually, I might be able to see in here if there's any questions. No, that's it. Awesome. All right, if you've got anything that will flow on from this, and you got any questions, just chuck them in the comments, and I'll get around and I'll reply to those comments and answer them for you. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to my channel and you're watching this in Facebook and that, just go across Outperform Fitness, subscribe. You'll see a load more videos and whatnot that I upload there. There's a whole heap of playlists to help you guys out. Just look through the playlist. There's career interviews. There's like beat test specific stuff, movement demos, all sorts of stuff in there. So make sure you jump in there and subscribe. Help me out. Leave some likes, leave some comments, and that's it for today. So hopefully I've given you some expanded knowledge on how to train, especially for beginners with your beat test, what to aim for to start with, because it is a big mistake I see a lot of people doing, is just, training the beat test when you're only working for about 5 minutes. And yeah, for the more intermediate to advanced guys with the 2.4 kilometer run, yeah, it's a matter of getting that speed, pace style stuff in there. VO2 max style training and working on that pace and giving yourself specific targets. It's a big difference between training and exercising. Exercising, you just go out and do those intervals, and next week you'll do something else, whatever. But with training, you're giving yourself specific targets and you're progressing them every single week. But be aware, like I said, you'll hit a wall. So then we need to change it up. And everyone's different. And it all depends on when you start as well. Okay, I just got a comment through, so I'll just check if we got any final ones. Yeah, guys, while I'm checking, just if you got any final questions, chuck them in there and I'll answer them for you. Yeah, Don, no worries. Great video. Thanks, mate. Happy to supply this stuff for you guys. All right, doesn't look like there's any more, and I've spoken enough. I've nearly lost my voice. So, like I said, subscribe to my stuff. Make sure you give all this stuff likes, comments, everything like that. Just give me a little bit more exposure. In the fitness forum and YouTube, I'll be doing this sort of stuff, once a month with my clients. It's every single week. So make sure you guys get those questions in there so I can answer them for you. All right. Enjoy the rest of your week. I am out.